I'm here. It's time for Saturday. I've been I've been in algorithm hell on Twitter for a couple of days, and I realized how much I rely on that website to collect my stuff for days such as these. I do believe I have still plenty to talk about, so fear not. It's really a very strange week for content creation, I guess. Uh, Apparently Keith and I is now in Fortnite. Surely that's not gonna be a problem. Apparently, some biker has been shocking the dog again. But not only that, apparently the guy is a furry. Imagine my shock. That's pretty funny to see. You also have people like Guys and Nat trying to improve himself, so that's why he's been reading books, which is good. And I guess a lot of people have been trying to crap on the guy. And look, uh, I don't know if that's fair or not, right? I'm not gonna say that, oh, of course, look at this guy trying to become better. No, that's not what this is about, right? I do believe that the situation might garner some criticism, because I do believe it's a little bit stupid. Not because the guy is trying to improve himself, because what's the level they allow in schools in the US? I think the guy is American, I'm not quite sure. It's kind of depressing. I suppose not surprising, but still, I don't think that is good in any way, shape, or form. And there's also this other guy, what's his name again? Rakai? That kid. I'm probably trying to make a mockery of Kaisenat by imitating him. I just watched the clip of the kid, and I'm like, I don't understand anything. I cannot parse what this kid is saying. I'm not even joking. I just cannot. I'm doing my best. It doesn't work. Is it really that bad? In the US, it might be. Is this what No Child Left Behind does to a country? What a disaster. What a disaster. And I bet there's been some more stuff. I guess there was also Asmongold being retweeted by Jade Vance. People having meltdowns because of that one. Not surprising, of course. And I think I'm missing something, but I'm not quite sure. I think those were the biggest deals for this week, streaming wise, which is it is kind of funny nonetheless. Okay, alright. Can't wait for people to start referring to Kisanai as the Fortnite girl. I think that also happened with Hatsune Miku. Why are we here? Just to suffer? I guess. I guess so. I was a little bit slow today. I was running behind schedule a little bit. So I'm still setting some of my stuff here on the side. Don't mind me, don't mind me. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm kinda sleepy. So not as bad as other days. But I've been suffering. Whenever it's cold, I just never sleep enough. Is it really that bad? Well, it is not good, that's for sure. By the way, we're having some Pokemon nostalgic music for shiny morning time. I was about to say, hold up, this is a city in normal games? No, it's not. Pokemon Ranger, Fall City Harbor. I think I was missing that with Fall Harbor. Not the same. Not the same. Similar, but not the same. And since we have Pokemon music, why not start talking about Pokemon? Surely, this is a good idea. Hold up. Where's my browser? There we go. So, what's going on with Pokemon? Well, it's not really Pokemon, or not just Pokemon. But also Pokemon, I suppose. Where's my thing? Is this it? This is it. So, lo and behold! Hey! It's Lego! Wait, what year is this? 2036? Why didn't they release this in, I don't know, 99? I have no idea. It's a little bit late and a little bit strange, to say the least. Lego Pokemon sets revealed with $650 Kanto the starter set. More like, can't pay for these, 650, that's so expensive. And they're not that big. I understand they have a lot of unique pieces. Yeah, no, I not feel this. Lego and the Pokemon Company have finally announced the first Pokemon Lego sets, bringing the beloved monster catching franchise to block form. It's been 30 years. What took you so long? Maybe I don't want to ask. Maybe I'd rather not know. The new LEGO Pokemon sets come in 3 initial flavors with increasing brick counts and dramatically increased prices. While the visit is smaller and costs, on? I think you need a preposition there, but sure. $60! The original starter set with Dinosaur, Charizard, and Blastoise is a whooping $649.99! What a great price! Oh my goodness, this is so expensive. It's worth noting, if you pony up for the massive LEGO Pokemon starter set, you get the LEGO Pokemon Kanto Region Badge Collection as a free gift, while supplies last. Check them all out below. This is nothing more than FOMO, okay? Wow, of course you want the badge, right? No! What do you mean by this? This is so expensive, it is insane. And I've seen people talking about this, saying, but of course kids cannot afford this. Well, yes. LEGO has always been kinda expensive. I do believe that 650 is just prohibitive. You can buy a Switch 2 and Pokemon games for less than this, despite the current quality of Pokemon games. That's kinda crazy. That's kinda crazy if you ask me. I was some mentions of people saying, obviously LEGO's just gathering to an older demographic with these sets because, this is Gen 1. Do kids even know about Gen 1? I'm actually not sure. People say these are the most famous and most prolific Pokemon. I mean, I guess, but I don't know if that makes any sense if you have demographics in mind. That remains to be seen. It feels a little bit strange. And if they're actually trying to cater to an older generation, that's gonna be a big problem. Because just short-term profit and long-term nothing. Because young kids nowadays will grow up, and when they're adults, and maybe they have kids of their own, they'll be like, Lego? I never grew up with Lego. I don't really care about Lego and don't really care about Pokemon. Why? I never grew up with them, because they were too expensive. So, they are not making more fans or potential customers, if that's the case, which is a little bit dangerous. But then again, I don't think these sets are good. I mean, these look okay, but these don't look like Lego anyway. So, what's the point really? I'm not sure. I mean, it's Pokemon, so it's gonna sell anyway. Here we have the Lego Eevee set for $60. It just looks like Eevee, which is fine. How is this a Lego? I just don't get it. You have the Lego Pikachu set, $200. It looks so ugly. It looks so jank. How is this $200? Are you kidding me? Not that long ago, with this money, you could buy Pokemon 3DS and a better Pokemon game. I said better, not necessarily good. And of course we have the big set, $650. It's so expensive. And I don't even see the point of this. as a toy. You're gonna make... Sure, you're gonna build Eevee, you're gonna build Pikachu, and you're gonna build the starters. You're not gonna be playing with them, I don't think. I don't even know if you can try and build something else with these pieces, or try to add some more stuff on top of it. I'm not sure, which is kind of the point of Legos. But I guess it's not the first time they do anything like that, right? I believe that was also the case with the Star Wars stuff, the Death Star and all that, right? So, maybe they're onto something. Maybe they understand their business better than me, I guess. Then again, I still agree, this is way too expensive. Way too expensive. And if you thought this was the only one, boy, do I have news for you. Lego Zelda Ocarina of Time, the final battle! Ocarina of Time set leak. $130 for 1,003 pieces, March 1st. I mean, I guess I could see it. It's not as bad in comparison. Still kinda thick money. I mean, I'd rather buy this than Pikachu, but I wouldn't buy this anyway. Includes Link, Zelda, Ganondorf, minifigures, Navi the Fairy, Brick Build Ganon, the Mega the Hammer, and Recovery Hearts. Do you really need to use the hammer here? I guess you do if you don't have the big sword. Ganondorf, more like Ganondorf. I mean, this builds way better as a Lego set. Because you can actually build the stuff on top as actual Legos. So I guess it's not that bad. I don't have it here, even though I think it's related. So that's kind of my fault. But apparently, Nintendo stock has been plummeting. Well, maybe not plummeting. Maybe plummeting is not correct. But it's been going down. And that begs the question. Are they really that tight money-wise? I'm not so sure, I actually have no idea. But I guess we can agree, maybe things are not that good. Maybe that's why they need to start selling Lego sets. I don't think that's necessarily the case for these sets, because they didn't make this in 3 weeks, right? But the stock also has not been falling for 3 weeks. So I'm actually not sure. I thought it was somewhat interesting. I mean, with the Pokemon sets, we might be onto something. But with the Zelda sets, it's Ocarina of Time. How many kids have fond memories of Ocarina of Time? Wasn't the last release of Ocarina of Time in 2013 for the 3DS? I guess they're not meant for kids. I guess Lego nowadays, just like trading card games, it was meant to be for kids. But it's not anymore, because it's too prohibitive. It's too expensive. So even if they want to, kids cannot join the hobby. Which is gonna be a detriment. And I'm not quite sure about Legos, but TCGs end up becoming some sort of scheme to try and resell stuff, which is quite disgusting. I have criticized Wizards of the Coast for a long time, and they do deserve the criticism, make no mistake about that. But resellers of other TCGs, or even Magic itself, they are not better. So it's just a compounding factor here. And I guess speaking of TCG, I don't have the tweet for that. I saw that and I thought it was pretty funny. And I do think it's something good for these kinds of hobbies. Apparently there's a One Piece TCG, I know nothing about it. But they released some sort of official statement mentioning to avoid the scalping and to avoid reselling stuff, we're gonna... excuse me. We're gonna take out the wrappings when you buy your products. And I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. But that's a really easy way of incentivizing reselling stuff. That's pretty good. Because if it's not sealed, you cannot guarantee it has not been tampered. And if it's been tampered, why would you buy it? And even with seals, it can also happen. I remember some people, not necessarily content creators, but I guess that can also happen to them, getting big boxes from what was it, like the first edition or first sets of the Pokemon TCG, trying to get those cool old cards, which are probably power crap to hell and back. But wow, first set Charizard, so cool! And all of the booster packs had been tampered with, opened up, taking out the good stuff for reselling, putting trash, and seal them back, and then resell the box. That's insanely crappy. It keeps happening, and I hate that. It's so bad, man. It's so bad. And I understand that those sets are really old, but still, man, still, come on. Just be honest about it, right? Just be honest, for once. Isn't that so much to ask? I guess it is. Or I guess it might be. What do they have here? Oh, we have some stuff about games too. Well, this is all game related anyway. So I guess it's on the same line, perhaps. So, the future of New World, what to expect? I've never played this game. It's one of those Amazon MMOs which tend to die really fast. I guess this one didn't die as fast, but from what I've read, it was not that good anyway. Apparently it's dying, by the way. It's not clear from this title, but that appears to be the case. New World Eternum. A few months ago, we shared with you our valued community that no additional content would come to New World Eternum after the Night Haven seasonal update. We also said more details on what's happening next, alongside other essential information will soon follow. Today, we're here to share updates and provide transparency on where the game goes from here. New World Eternum will officially be taking offline from all platforms on January 31st, 2027. Wow, a whole year, that's kinda crazy. More time than expected. On January 15th, 2026, the title will be delisted and no longer available for purchase. Which was 2 days ago. Whoops. If you want to buy it or play it, it's too late. Players will still be able to play New World Eternum on their purchase platform, and we're extending the Night Haven season until the servers are taking offline on January 31st, 2027. We want to thank the players for your dedication and passion. We're grateful for the time spent crafting the world of Eternum with you. Together, we built something special. While we're saddened to say goodbye, we're honored that we were able to share so much with the community. As being our pleasure to work on New World Eternum and evolve this unforgettable adventure with you all. We look forward to one more year together and giving this fantastic adventure a send-off worthy of a legendary hero. From the bottom of all hearts, thank you for sharing this world with us. I don't know if this was a good game, but it's always sad to see them die. Because let's be real, some people enjoyed it. And I think that's fine. And I think that's fair. Especially when this game was buy to play. It was not just the free to play cash grab. That happens sometimes too. I don't think this was the case. And thankfully, I'm not sure if this is thankfully or not. Some companies are trying to buy the game to keep it alive. I think the offers are about 25 million USD. Not a huge amount, but I mean, if you're gonna take it offline anyway, why not? Whenever they take down an MMO, there's always the question, are they actually taking it down? Or are they just gonna make New World 2 with the same assets, or a bunch of the old assets? It's hard to tell, it's happened before. But that's really shitty to do. I really dislike when they do that. FAQ, do we need to read this? I mean, sure, why not, right? We may have some more information. How long will we be able to play New World Eternum? Players who have purchased the game will be able to continue playing until January 31st, 2027, when the game servers are permanently taken offline. Following that date, players will no longer be able to access New World Eternum on any platform. This kind of feels like what happened to Overwatch. Oh, now you have Overwatch 2. Surely it's good. People hate it even more than the first game. I'll still be able to purchase in-game currency, that is Microsoft Fortune, for use in the game. Beginning July 20th, 2026, players will no longer be able to purchase Microsoft Fortune or anything else in-game. That's really strange. So, since January 15th, you cannot buy the game anymore. And you know the game is dying in a year. But you still have more than 6 months to keep buying in-game currency. If you don't call this predatory, I don't know what you will call predatory. Are funds available for Microsoft Fortune purchases? No. Refunds are not available for Microsoft Fortune purchases. What a strange thing to say! What a strange thing to allow! That's really weird. Will still be able to buy the game? No. As of today, the game is still listed and no longer available for purchase. Okay, still New World Eternum. If I previously purchased the game? Yes, if you previously purchased New World Eternum, then you can download and install the game again. I recently bought the game. Can you get a refund? Let's check with the customer support for the platform where you purchased New World Eternum for assistance. That happened to you, that's kinda crappy too. Will there be any additional bug fixes, server mergers, etc. while the game remains online? There will be no new content or further server mergers for the remainder of the game's life. But we will continue to monitor bugs and performance to ensure the game runs smoothly as things wind down. They're gonna do the bare minimum, I bet. Will there still be world bosses and bonus weeks as long as the game remains online? World bosses and bonus weeks will continue till the server shut down. They're probably just automated systems anyway. As I don't think that's really that surprising. Another one bites the dust. So I guess that's good news for Dread Mist. I think it's the name of the new MMO that's released recently. I think it's like supposed to be all the school and free to play. I think we will try that next week, by the way. Kinda funny. Kinda funny when you see shit like this. Funny not in a good way. But it keeps happening. When did this actually release? I'm not sure. 2021 for New World. September 28th, 2021. Barely over... Ah, not even barely over 5. Barely over 4 years. And then you have other MMOs, free-to-play jank, or even pay-to-play jank. And they still remain. Which is kinda funny. After decades, they keep coming back. So, maybe people understand now why I refuse to play these kinds of MMOs. Not even because I think they're bad, but because I know this is going to happen. You bought the game, but then they took it from you. Because it's not actually buying a product. It's just paying for a service. Which is a rough situation to be in. And I know it's more difficult for MMOs, because of course they're meant to be massive multiplayer online, so playing them alone kinda fits the purpose, and I guess some content would be near impossible. But it couldn't be that difficult to make your own local server to play with your friends, right? Of course, we always have the counter arguments, but what about the technology? Maybe people will reverse engineer that and copy it. Well, even if they could copy that kind of technology, it is still illegal, by the way. Ask me how I know. I never went to jail, okay? It was not me the one being copied. It was not me the one copying. It was me being copied. No, not me, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So I think that's just misguided kind of a cope. What do we have here? Oh, speaking of games taken down, I suppose, let me Let me pause the music for a second. We have a couple of small clips here. So, last week we played the UK propaganda game. Since then, it's been taken down. I guess the UK didn't like how people were actually enjoying the message. Pretty funny. But apparently there's also these going around from Jack Tarlad. With regard to the propaganda game and preventive detachment tool pathways. After scouring the app sources, I have discovered a set of endings that are not available in play. Declining prevent help. I compiled the two alternative ending clips below. That's kinda funny. That explains why the ending is so goddamn jank. Because you're not meant to have... Oh, didn't allow you to have these endings, which I would have used for obvious reasons. So, let's take a look. I don't know if they're gonna be allowed or not. I haven't seen this yet. I have seen a couple of screenshots. Oh, it has no audio. Okay, alright, hold up. That's a little bit weird. So I guess it was not voice acted. Sharing the client help. They felt they could handle it by themselves. That's the neutral. Funny enough. Okay. So this is a video, but it should have been just a GIF. Oh! Oh, there we go. That was weird.
They started feeling that they didn't really fit into any group now, and that they were experiencing a sense of isolation.
Which happens a lot when you deal with this kind of stuff. But its thing is suspicious. It's not green for good boy. It's yellow/orange for suspicious. It's not the guy's fault, okay? It's not the guy's fault.
They didn't take the opportunity to unpack these difficult feelings. Charlie continued to be reserved at college and continued to worry their teacher and parents.
So, since you don't count out to any side, that thing is suspicious. Wow, whoa. I guess you don't count out to the correct side. That's really strange. I don't know how I feel about that one. Well, I know how I feel. It's not good. Also, nice watermark. What about the other one?
Charlie was furious that the teacher felt they needed support with their political views.
Wow, this is the gigabase that they hold up. It should have been me, not them.
Charlie was so insulted that they stormed out and went to see their friend Amelia.
Is this actually the good ending where you get the girl? Are we sure this is the bad ending? This is red for the evil terrorist, so of course.
Together, the pair increased the amount of content they shared, attracting the attention of not just the teacher, but their parents and police too.
Ah, the teaching of the police. They're too spicy. They're conspiring together now. That's funny to me.
By not accepting help in time, Charlie had given themselves an opportunity to break the law with the things they were saying and the actions they chose to take.
The IGS is spreading, like, papers, pamphlets. You know what, kid? That's not allowed. You're breaking the law. Maybe I understand now why I've been listening to Breaking the Law by Judas Priest. That's crazy. Are we sure this is the bad ending? He got the chick though. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. And there's the other clips with the other Charlie, I think. That's crazy. That's funny. That's really funny to me. That's really funny to me. Imagine if you actually had those endings. Yeah, that's so loud. It happens every single time, right? They're trying to make anti-extremism propaganda, and you see the propaganda and you're like, wow, that's kinda cool. That's kinda cool, what do they mean by this? Because they don't understand what they talk about half of the time. A bit depressing. What else do we have here? Speaking of disasters, I guess. Speaking of disasters, how about this one? High Guard! It's been dubbed as Conquer 2.0. And it's probably gonna be an absolute disaster. People have been trying this, and it's apparently just trash. Rough. Rough to say, for sure. And not surprising, but what did you expect? It's a lot of fatigue about the scandal concept, and just people just don't care. But these guys haven't said anything since the Game Awards, which is really funny. Because apparently, I'm not sure this is the case, but who knows. Hi Guardian to pay for the Game Awards finale spot. GF just put it there, since for Paul Tassi. Apparently GF just really liked the game. Is this a kiss of death? Kinda feels like it. Ooh, real scary. Not gonna lie. Real scary stuff. To be fair, it's Paul Tassi, so I'm not gonna believe that guy. What else do we have here? There's a bunch of shorter stuff here at this point. We also have... What about censorship? In GitHub of all places. GitHub banned numerous adult game developers, and won't explain why. GitHub recently suspended or banned dozens of accounts associated with adult game modding, primarily for Illusion titles, like Koikatsu. From 80 to 90 repositories from 40 to 50 developers were removed in late November, early December 2025, without any clear explanation. Affected developers stated that their repositories contained only code, with no explicit assets. This is insane to me. For those who might not be familiar, GitHub is a site. It's supposed to be a repository for version control for codes. For coding would be a little bit more correct. Why or how they see themselves as editors for this type of content, it's absolutely bonkers to me. It makes no sense whatsoever. Who are you to decide about my code? And as they say here, only code, no assets. And if it was the assets, they could just remove the assets and send them a warning. Like, guys, we don't allow this kind of assets here. And you could even ask, okay, but why not? Right? Why not? When something we need for this piece of code to work is gonna be showing you some of the assets. So you need to embed the assets in the package anyway. It's really, really strange. We've been seeing these hardcore crusade against spicy content. And some of it's just spicy, not even explicit. I don't even understand what's going on there. It's really, really weird. But it's not surprising, just disappointing. We have here DG mods. For now, they should have the repo in multiple locations. Plus their own self-housed by Gitia, for example. Gitia. Okay, funny name. Until a decent, censorship resistant and permissionless GitHub all comes along, we'll be using it whenever that happens, and I imagine they'll be this year or the next. It is strange. It is really strange. What else do they say here? Here we go again. I wonder how much longer it will take before gaming becomes completely sterilized like Hollywood. It will probably already be, even for a couple of Eastern devs still desperately trying to resist Western censorship, class ideology, by postponing the inevitable. Don't think that's entirely correct. You've seen Japan also having the same kind of troubles and tribulations that the West does. I guess Korea is fine. A lot of people have been hollering about China. China is worse than this, actually. But they're showing themselves to be the good alternative to garner good PR. So, do not simp for China, okay? Do not simp for China too much. I know there's some caveats. Like, okay, this is not China, it's Hong Kong. I don't know what the situation with Hong Kong is right now within China. So I don't know if there isn't that as a cope or it's actually Something different. Are we sure they're better now? As being part of China or being a British colony? I'm not so sure anymore, man. GitHub joined the censorship crew. GitHub is under items control now. And, of course, it starts with spicy stuff, but it never stops there. Because it never stops until you force them. So, when is it going to stop? I have no idea. Is it even going to stop? I have no idea. Maybe if you make some sort of program or mod that's not even spicy, but it might not be about the correct opinions, you might be in trouble too. Truly insane. A truly insane situation to be happening here. Oh boy. Take a sip here. Do not even GitHub is safe anymore. And sound how people are just against having the staff hosted on Discord of all places. But at the same time, I kinda get it when you get into situations like this. Not that Discord is a good alternative, but it is an alternative. And then something happens and the server dies and what happens? Well, you're fucked. That's also a big problem, okay? That's also a big problem, make no mistake about it. Shit is susceptible to becoming really easily last media if you only host on Discord. It's also really annoying. You want this? You want this patch? You want this mod? You just join the Discord, but I don't want to. Fuck you. What about that, huh? Annoying, man, so annoying. Ow. So, let us talk about a little bit about the gamer brain. What's behind the phenomenon of gamer brain? If you've ever refused to knock down a game's difficulty level, or chase a purposefully pointless achievement, you may have this pernicious but pleasurable affliction. I don't think that's gamer brain. I don't think that's only specific of gamers. I think it's just wanting to be challenged and not backing down. That's nothing new, okay? But you wouldn't know that. K.S. McDonald. Studies on game is effect in the brain, usually focusing on aggression or the cognitive benefits of playing games. Aggression. This is kind of a red flag already. This is kind of a red flag. The former topic has fallen out of fashion now, after more than a decade's worth of scientific research failed to prove any causative link between video games and real-world violence. More than a decade, it's probably close to 2 decades and a half, I bet. But sure. Studies on the positive effects of games have shown that performing complex tasks with your brain and hands is actually quite good for you, and the games can be beneficial for your emotional well-being and stress management. That's all well and good, but I'm obsessed with the concept of gamer brain. That part of us that is drawn to objectively bonus achievements. That part of us that is drawn to objectively bonus achievements. Okay, it sounded more strange the first time I read that. My bad. Mastering a game or finishing a story are normal sources of motivation, but the gaming brain is inexplicable. Would you try the same pointless minigame over and over because you want to get a better high score? When you walk around the invisible boundaries of a level, clicking the mouse just in case something happens? When you stay with the game longer than you should because you feel compelled to unlock the trophy or achievement? When you refuse to knock the difficulty down a level on a particular evil boss because they will be letting the game win? That's gamer brain. Now, you have better high score. You want to challenge yourself. You walk around the invisible boundaries of a level, clicking the mouse just in case something happens. That's just you being curious about the boundaries of the game. Trying to break that, which can be really fun sometimes. Unlock the trophy or achievement. You're challenging yourself. Refuse to knock down the difficulty when fighting a particularly evil boss. That's you, wanting to challenge yourself. It's fine. Doing the opposite would be a detriment, I feel. What, are you a tiny baby? Are you a tiny baby? Can't you play a game and win? Come on, man. I'm not sure whether games cause this very particular flavor of obstinacy, or whether people with abstinent tendencies are drawn to video games. But most everyone I know who plays a lot of video games is susceptible to it. It's the part of you that simply will not give up. It's the part of you that simply will not give in. The part of you that's determined to bend the game's rules to your will. The extreme version of it is learn to play impossible Dragon Force songs from Guitar Hero 2 times speed. Just because you can. Dragon Force, Guitar Hero. Is this 2026? Are we sure? I'm not so sure about that one. I'm sure there's not, what, 2010? It was not 2010, but it was close, right? Everything that happens at Awesome Games Done Quick. Yeah, we're not talking about those guys anymore. Too ideological. Masters of Joyful Games Pointlessness. Masters of Joyful Gaming Pointlessness, in which people take increasingly esoteric challenges, such as playing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask Unfolded, or spinning through the course modded version of Halo, full of random items from other games. This is probably the worst possible way to describe HDQ. It's about speedrunning. Okay. Humans agree with valuing speedrunning, but that's a completely different question. It was this year's HDQ, in fact, that got me thinking again about gamer brain and why we love this stuff. But I also thought about it a lot while playing Baby Steps last year. It's a game that embraces it outright marks the concept of gamer brain. Not only through its main character, the use of Nate embodies a bunch of stereotypical gamer characteristics, including being totally willing to ask for help. Is this just a woman not understanding men? I think that's the case. I think that's the case. You want to challenge yourself because you want to be number one. Wow, you're challenging something in a video game that's single player? That's so stupid. Yes, it's stupid. It might be seen as pointless even, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect on your brain. You still want to challenge yourself with the game. You still want to master the game. You still want to see whatever the game is worth. Huh, that's a bit strange. Its creators, Gabe Casillo and Bennett Foley, of course, told me a lot about this when we spoke in November. Baby Steps is full of moments that tease you, the player, into 10 ridiculous fits. At certain points, you'll find big holes in the ground that you can purposely fall into, just to see what happens. Spoiler, nothing is ever down there. One character warns you away from a tower, telling you there's no reason to climb it, because there's nothing at the top. Of course, I immediately tried to climb the tower. Once, I spent 10 minutes inching my way up a river to a waterfall to see what was behind it. On the rocks behind the water was nothing but a crudely drawn penis. Is exploration really that bad? Is exploration really that wrong? I don't get it. I don't think that's the case. There's a normal dirt path by a cliff that you can walk up perfectly safely. And then along the cliff is a series of wooden pegs that you could walk up instead. If you want to risk less than 20 minutes of progress, says Foley. That's a joke that you're making with the player, because for them to find it funny, they have to know that they're tempted to walk on the pegs. The player didn't feel anything about that other than, oh, that's not the correct way to go. I will walk on those pegs. Then there's no joke. But the player gets it because they do want to do the difficult thing. It's almost like gamers want to interact with the games in meaningful ways. It's because you have something there, so of course you want to interact with it. Maybe it's not meant to be interacted with in the way you want to do it, but you can, and you can try, and you might find something interesting. I understand it might not be that common in modern games. How many times did we try, especially back in the day, try to go out of bounds, explore further? That's just human curiosity. I guess mixed with pride, maybe? I don't think it's quite pride, but it's that thing of, you're challenging me, trying to mock me, But you know what? I'm gonna do it. So the joke's on you. The most exclusive joke in all of baby steps, for me, comes when you find a pair of glasses that make invisible steps visible. You just decide to try to walk all the way across a bunch of rocky pillars to find these glasses, risking a fall at any moment that will waste perhaps an hour of your time. You will see a path of invisible steps that eventually lead to an invisible trophy. Nate will practically weep with joy in front of this trophy that nobody else can see. Calling over a fellow hiker to admire it, who of course can only see Nate dancing around triumphantly in front of absolutely nothing. I think you're looking too much into it, man. Yes, your achievements only make sense to you. How is that a big deal? I think that's normal, even. The joy that we keep coming back to is when the player puts themselves in a particular psychological or emotional state, and then Nate gets to reflect that in some way, Polly says. You're seeing yourself reflecting this loser. That's the deep joke. This guy, the Scotch potato, is actually you in this moment. I'm not quite sure about Bennett Folly. I know the kinds of games he made, but I don't think this is a good example of a game maker, if that makes any sense. Because this guy makes, yeah, pretty much. This guy pretty much makes anti-games. They're only worthy of content, I suppose. Like WoP, of all things. Because you have stuff like Getting Over It, and now Baby Steps, among others. But this is rather unimpressive. Australian video game designer? Yeah, no wonder everything is backwards. Kizilo, who also voices Nate, has a chronic case of gamer brain. Over time, we came around to this idea that a lot of the level design is an opportunity for introspection about why you're playing the game at all, what kinds of rewards you're attuned to, and why you play games in general, he says. Is this just a deconstruction of games? It's not surprising, but I hate to see it happening over and over again. Everything has to be post-ironic, everything has to be a deconstruction. Isn't this so deep? No. You're a 95 IQ intellectual at best when you try to do that. Because you're missing the obvious point. You're asked as a player, what do you care about? Who are you as a person? If you don't jump into the hole, you're left wondering for the rest of the game about whether you should have jumped in the hole. It's not a dip, bro. It's not a dip. It's a streamer game. It's that easy. I wonder what they call these rage games. Game range thought of as a masculine concept, taking it as that you don't have to be a man to suffer from it. One more moment. Yes, women can exhibit masculine traits too. That's not what it means for it to be masculine. But sure, I mean, it's an intrinsic characteristic of males. But of course you can see that in other people, if they have the same inclinations. The Guardian, why are you like this? You're disappointing me too much today. I think there's a gender type of play, toxic masculine play, or at least it's constructed as such, Foley says. Toxic masculine play. See what I mean? See what I mean? A deconstruction. Is toxicity trying to become better and overcome challenges? For these people, it appears to be the case. Doesn't make any sense to me. That stuff is riddled through gaming culture. It's riddled through the kinds of characters that players are asked to embody. Ethan Drake in Uncharted is determined and full of grit. Not the same thing as being obstinate and dogged. Do not dog on me. And pursuing something stupid? Baby Step is one of those games that you can only truly appreciate if you have a bit of gamer brain in you. Trying to explain why it's funny is close to impossible. You have to have some understanding of the compulsion and strange transcendence of pursuing bonus objectives. Here's the key thing about the gamer brain, and perhaps about games in general. These things aren't pointless if they actually mean something to you. Modern day people rediscovering the concept of Sisyphus. I guess. See what I mean? See what I mean when I say I'm going absolutely crazy every single time I see anything like this, when I see just these people. It's insane. They don't understand anything they would talk about. Not even Bennett Folly. I'm sorry. These people are just ignorant. You want to do the thing. Because it's there. It's just that easy. It's not that deep, man. What to play? Is this just a propaganda piece? I guess. Is this part of the same article? I guess. What to play? When I started Sword of the Sea last night, I found myself surfing over dozens of tastefully rendered animated sand. I immediately thought of Journey. I love this game brings Journey to mind. From the art style and animation to the minimal demands that it makes of you as a player. But you know what? It's been almost 15 years since the landmark PlayStation 3 game. It's been lonely to play something that channels its best moments. You switch around the desert, occasionally jumping, occasionally pressing square to make something happen, finding places where your magical sword can bring water back to your arid surroundings. After you flood the former desert, you surf around on the water instead, watching creatures flitting around you. It is beautiful, mindful, and soothing. If somebody uses the word mindful, I'm really suspicious of them too. Admittedly a little insubstantial, if I found it a comforting, achievable, general replay. What to read? Okay, you wrote about some other shit that nobody cares about. What to click? Okay, alright. What is going on with this woman? This is really weird. This is really strange. I will never understand why these people get to read or write, I guess. I don't understand how these people get to write stuff about video games when they don't understand anything at all. Wow, look at this! It's so deep. It's not a deep, guy. Gal, I guess, in this case. It's not a deep, man. So we have from the same person. It's a loving mockery because it's also who I am. The making of game's most pathetic character. Literally the same game. 4 months and 40 hours later, my epic battle with 2025's most difficult video game. Silk Song. From final boss battles to the dangers of open world bloat, TV and film can learn a lot from video games. Sure thing. How long is James Bond in the $1 billion video game? Here are most read gaming stores of 2025. Slop. 10 most anticipated video games of 2026. Slop. The video game readers couldn't switch off in 2025. Slop. Call of Duty's Vince Campella was a video games visionary. Slop. I think this guy died in a traffic accident. There's the play. 20 most video games. Inside Fallout. Game is most surprising TV hit. Slop. Star Wars, Tomb Raider, and the Midnight for Expedition 33 Game Awards. Slop. Prismatic Selfish World Formidable. Lara Croft returns with 2 new Tomb Raider games. Kinda sloppy. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond review. 4 out of 5 stars. Slop. Defining Xbox 360 Reimagined Gaming. How generative AI North Vader started to describe over the gaming industry's future. It's just sloppy. So, you got something that's normal when people play games. Which is, hey, you have a set of rules, you have a set of mechanics, you have potentially an open world, it's quite common in new games. And you decided that people that engage with it and interact with it, wow, have a special brain affliction. They have gamer brain. No, that's normal. I would say not wanting to interact with the games is actually bad. It's a detriment. I've complained about this long enough. And you see people, especially nowadays, it would be easier to excuse back in the day because some mechanics were not properly explained, some mechanics were really esoteric, and I'm gonna be real, some games were kinda jank. Some games were kinda jank, okay? So of course people will have problems with the games themselves, mechanics-wise. But nowadays, you see a lot of people just refusing to engage with the games. Why? It's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense. This reeks of pseudo-intellectualism, which is not useful. Reminds me of that meme. Let me look it up. Because I think it's really topical. Games Journal meme. I don't know if I will be able to find it. Not Cuphead. Not that one. It's an old meme. I need to use rock for this one. I need to use rock for this one. If I just find memes like this. Hey, that's Goomba. What the hell? What the hell? That's not a video game journals level. Come on, guy. Don't be like that. It is a classic meme. It is a classic meme. I cannot find it. But it's that strange meme, right? I think I made mixing a couple of memes in a single one. It's not on purpose, I promise. There's this meme about the game asks you really strange questions about life. And you see the game's like, no, the game is telling you to jump over the death pit, okay? It's not a dip. It's not a dip. It's just a game. When you distill everything that's a video game, at the end of the day, you have this is a little bit productive, but I don't think it's entirely wrong. You have a combination of traditional puzzles and chess. Is that bad? No. They've been around for centuries, and they're pretty good. Even to this day, normal chess, people still play it. Normal puzzles, people still do them. There's nothing wrong with that. But you try to be so extremely smarmy about it. Oh, look at me. Aren't I so smart? No, it doesn't make any sense. You talk about here, retry the same pointless minigame over and over because you want to get a better, higher score. Yes, because you know you can do it. So of course you're gonna try it. And you're gonna make mistakes. They will try it several times. And when you walk around the invisible boundaries of a level, clicking the mouse just in case something happens. This is probably the most insane to me. This can only be said of somebody that doesn't like games. If you like games, you want to break the games. You're like, okay, I know this is not intended, but I'm gonna try it. Can we break the game? How much can we break the game? Can I bend the game to my own will? Sometimes you can, sometimes you cannot. Sometimes you can, but you actually cannot pull it off. There's everything here. This was paramount in the 90s, okay? And also a bit of early 2000s, I suppose. Who hasn't broken beyond belief in Pokemon game, especially Gen 1 and 2? I know I have. It was fun to do. When you stay with the game longer than you should because you feel compelled to unlock the trophy or achievement. It's literally called an achievement or also a trophy. It's not pointless. You want to experience everything the game has to offer. It's not that bad. To be fair, some trophies / achievements are really bad. So if you want to skip some of them, I couldn't blame you. I'm the same, okay? I am the same. I do skip some stuff. I think it's too annoying. If it's too annoying, I'm not doing that. You cannot convince me. We refuse to knock the difficulty down a level on a particular evil boss. This also talks a little bit about game design. If you're playing in normal, and suddenly you find the boss and the boss kicks your ass, well, that feels bad, that feels wrong. So of course, you won't put the game in easy. You have been playing in normal thus far. Why is this so difficult? Well, I know it's not the question, but I'm gonna answer it anyway. It's somewhat implicit. There are many possibilities for this. You might have gotten to the boss too early, so you might be underleveled or undergeared, underpowered in general. That happens with some games, and yeah, it's rough. It's meant to be a special challenge, so of course. Or you're not engaging with all of the mechanics that you should be engaging with. There might be some sort of mechanic somewhere that makes the fight easier. I don't know, let's say Final Fantasy IX and Ozma having the monster side quest to make it easier. You don't have to do it, but you can make the fight easier if you want. Or there will be a specific element or piece of gear that exploits the enemy's weaknesses. You won't put anything easy, because you know you're better than this. Because it's not like you have been struggling, playing in maniac difficulty, and finally, it's unbearable. That might also happen, but that's a completely different issue. Once again, I need to ask, is it really that strange trying to become, not even trying to become the best, your best iteration, right? But is it really that strange trying to become better, trying to improve your whatever you're doing? People do this all the time outside of gaming. Have you seen this strange physical feats some people do? Have you seen strongmen? My goodness, that's crazy. Those guys are gigantic, and they can move a lot of heavy stuff. I've recently seen on Twitter something along these lines. It was a special event for strong guys. Can you put this big boulder on top of your shoulder? And they were struggling a lot. Is there any point in that aside from showcasing strength? No, it's just a showcase of strength. I would argue that strength in itself is useful, but huh? People have been doing that for dozens of years, okay? What about the circus? Sure, it's for entertainment purposes, but if you haven't trained for walking down the rope, you're gonna have about time. We can also bring up the Roman Colosseums and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure there were slaves, so I don't know if that counts. It's just the showcase of a skill, it's just a showcase of abilities, it's nothing new. It's not the gamer brain, it's the male brain, it's not difficult to understand. Game journals not understanding anything. My goodness, this is awful. This article was actually way worse than I expected. Really disappointed. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I'm not really that surprised. Honestly. What else do we have? We have... okay, this one is really funny. I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw several people mentioning this. I couldn't find any actual source or an actual article talking about this, so take it with a grain of salt. I think it's still a funny meme, nonetheless. Regarding current events, Ice Age is trending on women's role-playing AI. Well, I don't know if this is true, but I think it's really believable. To be fair, this seems other specific, right? Ice Agent. Yakuza husband Kira. That looks like a vampire to me. And for some violent mafia, I guess? Yeah, that could be the case. As we mentioned before, with the classic Morning Glory Milk and Farm, I guess I didn't talk too much about that one, but I thought it was a pretty obvious string of thought. It's not that women don't like strong men, okay? Even these strange women, they're all about the strong independent province. The problem that they have is that they cannot reconcile their self-ascribed political views with what they actually want. So, of course, they want to be... This is gonna sound a little bit wrong to some people, but they want to be dominated. That doesn't mean you need to enslave them or anything like that. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about, you know, in an intimate way. But of course, they cannot be allowed to do so by the normal men because they are evil. So that's why they go for big monsters. Also, to be fair, the big monsters are probably way stronger than your average guy anyway. I mean, have you seen werewolves? Have you seen the milking farm? Big monsters and whatnot. But that also explains why the usual concept of the knight in shining armor defeating the dragon is also the female fantasy. Well, if you're a guy, of course you want to be strong and defeat big monsters. And if you're a woman, of course you want the guy to be strong. Not because of whatever might happen in the privacy of the bedroom, but it's an evolutionary advantage, right? Maybe it doesn't seem so with modern society, but I think it is still applicable. Back in the day, when we lived in caves, nothing has changed too much in that regard sometimes. Having a strong male partner meant you had higher security, so you would be more protected from other tribes or wild animals, or even other things that could happen. So, if you're more protected, you're more likely to pass on your genes. Not me, like genetics. I guess I'm also made of genes. Gene is made of genes? Is this possible? Am I wearing jeans? No. Unlucky. And of course that's a desirable trait. It's all about survival. People have forgotten about all of that. We're living in a really strange world that's all about post-Darwinism. It's really strange. So of course it's appealing to these women when you see these strong individuals, right? Yakuza husband, violent mafia, and I guess nowadays also the ICE agent. Funny. Just funny. Is this actually happening? I don't know, but it's not surprising if that's the case. Just a funny meme. What do we have? Oh, speaking of funny memes, I saw this tweet the other day, and I thought it was really funny. Because we talked last week about localization stuff, and it's really topical. A translator, a localizer, and a fun server walk into a bar, a McDonald's, and an izakaya. It's beautiful! It's absolutely beautiful. And I do believe the localizer would say McDonald's. Oh my goodness. The fan server's right, by the way. Well, we don't know the original, but yeah, izakaya is not necessarily just a normal bar, right? It's more of a Japanese traditional tavern in that regard, which is something more specific and gives you the proper background. Saying bar wouldn't be wrong, I don't think. Saying McDonald's, it would be. Potentially. Give me a second, I need to blow my nose. Also, my throat is kinda raspy. I'll try to clear it while muted. Give me a second. And I guess this... I didn't clear my throat. Whoops. My bad. I was too eager to start talking again, okay? Hold up. And I guess this past week, there's been a lot of localization stuff going on the Twitter. There was this guy, I think the guy is a YouTuber, I have no idea. I don't know too much about the guy. But there was a guy that was defending strange localization. And I mean, I guess I can bring some stuff up. I probably shouldn't show the clips because I don't want to get slapped because of the copyright. But there's been this guy here that's been defending localization, especially the old one, which is absolutely disgusting. Did you delete this one? No, they didn't. Okay, I guess we're turning this backwards a little bit. Okay. This one, this one, and this one, right? That seems correct. That seems correct. So I guess we need to bring up this guy here. This guy is defending the old Dragon Ball Funimation dub, which is insane to me. Luckily for me, I never really watched it, but every time you see the clips, oh, it's so bad, man. It's so bad. They have... hold up, is this relevant to the discussion? Kinda, I guess. Why do you care about how people who doesn't speak Japanese via Japanese original? We speak English. We watch the English version. And they have this clip here. And there is not a single line matches the original script. And we can skim through it. And this is the classic Goku vs Vegeta for the first time. So you have Vegeta gassing himself up. Wow, you're about to fight the super elite. You're a low-class warrior. That's why they send you here. Because this is a low-class planet. So even a champ like you should be able to conquer it. Right? The classic exchange. And if we had this with the audio clips, they actually use the American dub. And the American dub, you have Vegeta acting like Darth Vader. Join me, and we will conquer the galaxy. We will be unstoppable. Which is... that's not Vegeta. It's never Vegeta, okay? As some people said, oh yeah, join me, and we're gonna get fragged by Rikum. Demonstrably true. He still gets fragged after the Zenki boost anyway. It is really that rough. And if we know something about Vegeta as a character, is that he hates having to team up with Goku. Okay? At this point, he was just the super elite. Of course, I can be compared to a low-class warrior. But that's not the fact. Of course, you don't want to team up with your rival, right? Even though he actually did a couple times in Super, but people have their opinions about Super. And you have this guy, Fu. This is actually a fascinating example of the benefits of this loose 90s approach to dubbing. Let's true to what Toriyama originally made up as he went along. It's not something he made up as he went along. This really explains you what is Vegeta as a character. A really proud Saiyan elite. But more effective in setting up the redemptive character arc that Vegeta eventually follows. It makes him more likable. That's kind of the problem with the American version of this, because they didn't have OG Dragon Ball, they only had the Seed. And that's a big problem, because you get thrown into the middle of the story without understanding how Dragon Ball works. You get a big rival, and you defeat the rival, and then it becomes an ally. It's been happening since the beginning. I guess Vegeta is probably the most noticeable, because he becomes Goku's biggest rival as a fellow pure Saiyan. But also happened with the androids, also happened with Fat Buu, happened to some extent with Beerus, happened to some extent with Universe 6 people, especially Hit. They even allied themselves with Frieza for the Universe Survival arc. Come on. It's the Dragon Ball system. That's how it works. This is you not understanding anything. Remember, the goal here wasn't to perfectly preserve the original for an otaku demographic that barely existed at the time. It was to make a Japanese cartoon as palatable as possible for American and Canadian kids, with no exposure to the first half of the story. That's kinda funny, because as we all know, everybody loves Dragon Ball. It doesn't matter where you live, but this translation only happens in the Americas. So, what is going on here? Are they really that stupid? No, they were just trying to use proven tropes like Darth Vader and Superman. But they did a complete butchery. They completely butchered Dragon Ball, which is really, really sad. Also, they completely butchered the music score, okay? The original, beautiful, every single time. I need to listen to the American one, I die a little bit inside, okay? I'm only okay with it, because some of the video games I enjoy. That's why. We have this guy here. It is not the job of a dub to subjectively improve the material it's giving. It's simply supposed to convey the material in a different language, and this example utterly fails to do that. Yes, because the dialogue doesn't have anything to do with the original. No, that's the job of subtitles. No, you fucking idiot, that's the job of a translation. The job of a dub is to sell the given material to a new market by making whatever subjective improvements or changes the market demands. Which finders deep down succeed at that is spectacularly. No, it's because Dragon Ball is that good. That good in the sense of enjoyable to watch. I'm not saying it's wow, the best experience. It's a fun watch. Everyone loves the Ghost Story stuff for a reason. Which is obviously a really bad example, because they did just the equivalent of an enriched version. That is, they just made shit up. And it came to a point within this discussion that you have people defending, unironically, stuff like not only these changes, which is insane to me, when you have a billion countries, because you have Latin America and a lot of countries in Europe. I don't know if it's every single country in Europe, I have no idea. They had anime way before the US, and anime was big already in those places, but I didn't need to change anything. But that's not because they were used to anime, it's because you can translate it normally, and people will like it, because the original is good. The same thing happened with, I don't know, for example, let's say, a lot of people mention this, Saint Seiya. You don't need to change the story, right? You don't have to make it completely backwards. No, it works because it's that good. And how do we know it's good? Especially when we talk about Dragon Ball. Well, Dragon Ball is really famous in every corner of the world that had Dragon Ball. But only the US, and I guess Canada, I'm not even sure if that's the case, had this translation. And every single time you see strange narratives about Dragon Ball, it comes from the US. There's stupid narratives about, this heroic Goku was so good, he has to come back. No, that's Superman. And they treat actual Goku as some sort of sociopath monster that only wants to fight. Well, yeah, he wants to fight. But at the same time, you don't say the same shit about other shonen protagonists that work pretty much the same. Like, Yusuke in Yu Yu Hakusho, for example. It's kinda funny. Kinda funny when you think about it. A real strange situation. But on top of that, you have people unironically defending Dragon Ball Abridged as the best version of Dragon Ball. It is insane to me. It cannot be the best version when it's just a parody. And you can say, it's a good parody, it's a fun parody. You might like the parody, there's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot say it's the best way to experience Dragon Ball, because that's not Dragon Ball. It's just a massive joke. It's only funny because you know Dragon Ball. It's only funny because you understand, subconsciously I suppose, the subversive nature of the parody. And that's fine. But in no way, shape or form, it's gonna be better than the original. They're literally using the same argument. They're defending something that's not real. Because the abridged version changes a billion things too. Despite what they may tell you. They change a billion things. And it's only big Because it's Dragon Ball. How do we know this? Because Team 4 Star has more rich series. They're not even half as good or half as famous. I tried to watch the Final Fantasy VII at some point and was like, wow, this is complete ass. So yes, Dragon Ball Bridge, it's good. Not because the jokes make it better, but because it's Dragon Ball. It's so sad to see. So, tangent over, I guess. Tangent over. What do we have? Oh, jeez. Let's talk about a little bit about technology, shall we? What about the GPUs? I don't know if this is actually true, but I guess we'll know. That's kind of long. Goddamn. Okay, alright. We'll see. Exclusive! NVIDIA's absorbing memory costs to protect gamers for now. Here's the other side of GPU shortages. I mean, there are many issues with the shortages. It's not just the AI, but AI is a big factor, I would say. There have been a lot of rumors floating around NVIDIA's RTX 50 GPUs and how memory shortages are impacting the supply/prices. I thought we should do a detailed report on our findings, which paints a whole different picture of the ongoing situation. Is NVIDIA cutting GeForce RTX 50 GPUs in light of the recent memory shortages? Here's what our sources tell us. Since November, when the memory crisis started to creep into the consumer hardware segment, there have been various reports highlighting that GPU vendors, both NVIDIA and AMD, will increase prices, and more recently, reports that NVIDIA will be entirely ending production of certain GPUs in its inventory. It's really strange if it's actually the 50s, because it's the last one they have. So, that's a bit strange. Went over and asked around some reputable industry sources on the matter. Sources close to NVIDIA, sources close to their ASAs, and sources at various ASAs. Our findings have provided us with more information on the matter. And while the memory shortage's impact is real and affects the entire consumer market, most of the information is either not conveyed properly or, presented in a way that's utterly devoid of truth. Here's what we were able to get, and bear with us, the report will tackle various aspects of the consumer GPU market, particularly NVIDIA GPUs. Regarding this, I've seen some people cheering, see, PC gaming was not the future. Look at these components, they're so expensive now. Console players keep winning. You fucking idiot. What do you think you have inside the PS5, for example? It is the same. It is the same. You're gonna suffer literally the same problems as everybody else. Congratulations. You're a fucking idiot. First and foremost, I had to mention NVIDIA's most recent official statement, which was provided to us just in time for this report. The report aligns with what most ASAs and partners are saying. The demand for GeForce RTX 50 GPUs remains strong despite prices rising. I mean, yes, it's the last one. To be fair, if you want to play new games, you have to use really strong GPUs, because they're really not that optimized. In Q4, NVIDIA's GeForce RTX GPUs saw strong sales, and the deal season, Black Friday, etc., prompted the buying spree among gamers and consumers. Also, the fact of knowing that shit is gonna get more expensive. So, if you need to buy something, buy it now. Buy it fast. Do not wait. There was an extra push from consumers to get these cards, driven by factors beyond the forthcoming memory crisis, such as tariffs. I guess there's also that too. Yeah, we all thought at some point the tariffs would be the end of the consumer gaming segment. And that is also reflected in the recent IDC report, which showed big growth in the PC market in Q4 2025. But enter memory shortages, that's just the whole level of misery. And there's little the consumers can do to avert it. I mean, yeah, it's not in your hands, so you need to buy the best deals you can, I guess. NVIDIA confirms in its official statement that memory supply is constrained, but it is working closely with its suppliers to maximize memory availability. NVIDIA also confirms that they continue to ship all GeForce SKUs. These two statements will be covered in These two statements will be covered in detail later, or in this post, but for now, let's look down NVIDIA's official statement. Well, for GeForce 30X GPUs is strong and memory supply is constrained. We continue to ship all GeForce SKUs and are working closely with our suppliers to maximize memory availability. You tell literally the same. Funny. Both GDDR6 and 7 memory supply is constrained. Continuing our reports, we thought about clarifying what we mean by memory shortages. We have seen DDR5 getting expensive, DDR4 is following suit, and the most recent report suggests that DDR3 prices are on the rise. Do people even use DDR3 anymore? It's been a while since you can actually use those, I bet. Surely our gaming graphics cards don't use this memory standard, so why do GPU makers say the memory supply is constrained? To answer it, it's not that a single memory type is experiencing shortages, but it is the entire memory industry. DRAM, or memory as we call it, is used across several products and platforms. Computers use DDR standards for PCs and data centers. Graphics cards use GDDR, and HPC/AI chips use HBM memory standards. They don't use something different. I guess that makes sense. That's kind of strange when they use GPUs for AI stuff too. Not sure how it works internally. Kind of complex, I suppose. There are a handful of major companies that produce DRAM itself. The most widely known are Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Not Microsoft, Micron, something different. These three are responsible for the bulk of the DRAM output on the global stage, and considering how huge they are, each has dedicated fabs and production plants. Fabs. Nah, fabulous. Where these memory chips are made, as demand for a particular type of DRAM rises, production lines are prioritized for that type. So, of course. Currently, HBM and DDR are the most widely used DRAM products due to rising AI demand. Data centers and AI powerhouses are gobbling up these memory types like nothing, and major companies have already backordered years' worth of supply, which these DRAM manufacturers are currently working to fulfill. GDDR for graphics cards and GPU is also being produced, but not at the same level as the other two memory types, which is causing the memory shortages. At the same time, to procure such memory also rise, and the usual supply and demand logic applies. I understand the need for AI chips and all that, if you want to do AI stuff, but this is also something I've mentioned before. They want to just have functional AI or even good AI, but just shooting more RAM at it. Is it going to work? I guess it can work, but I don't think it's the best way of doing things. Maybe you should optimize the AI itself too, not just the hardware. But given the problems we've seen lately, just in general, with a bunch of software stuff, I'm not so sure. Hello? Ah, there we go. There we go. Trucking your stop for a second. I'm not sure they can actually manage to make something good. There's also that thing about the GOG CEO claiming on Windows, saying that Windows is just shit. Well, he is not wrong. Absolutely right. It's not just GDDR7 graphic cards, like the RTX 50 series, that will be expensive. Even older GDDR6 cards will be expensive, as memory prices have shot up. There's some good news on this matter. Are you sure? We'll see. I think that there are certain wanted to point out from the start that NVIDIA has held off on passing through any memory card increases to their AICs and consumers longer than all the brands. Woo! They're still full of food, goddamn. As stated above, memory prices are going up due to supply constraints, but despite that, it looks like Nvidia has favored its customers a limited amount of memory cards passed through the customer-centric GPUs. This is actually really good for them, because if you actually see the AI bubble pop, they're gonna be left with nothing. No customers from AI because the AI bubble popped, and the gamers are gonna be like, you know what, fuck you. You fucked us over, so get the fuck out of here. Not a bad idea, not a bad plan. It's also pointed out that they have received word on the memory price increases for GPUs, and they're in fact lower than what most have been quoting online. You can recall our monthly post where some channels highlighted 20 to 40 US hikes with bumps throughout 2026. I mean, 20 to 40 bucks, not a whole lot. Even some increases we've seen, so it's not that bad. And even if Nvidia were to purchase memory from DRAM manufacturers for its GPU at exorbitant prices, little demand for RTX 50 GPUs. And a sort of supply is currently not available for the latest gaming graphics cards. That leads to an overall shortage of consumer graphics card output, leaving consumers with no option but to pay higher prices. Yeah, but it's just classic supply and demand. Not just because of the AI stuff, but because they don't have as many as the demand. Which, let's be real, it's been happening for years, okay? You guys remember 2020? I do remember 2020. Trying to get a PS5 or even a... what was it, 4070, 4080, something like that, was really difficult, and you had many scalpers. So it was not a great situation to buy stuff. Another story in the same matter related to the AICs that appeared recently said that Nvidia has cut off its GPU plus DRAM bundles to AICs, forcing AICs to procure memory for each GPU themselves. Like AMD and Intel, Nvidia provides partners with a GPU plus DRAM combo, which I mean it's normal. It's been normalized for many years. Like 15 years ago, you normally wouldn't say this. I mean, you could, but on the pricier stuff, maybe nothing has changed. I'm not sure. It's been quite some time. Might be misremembering. So let's say an AIB has 100 units of the GeForce RTX 5060 GPU, one of Nvidia's distributors. The AIC will receive two things: the GPU or GPUs in the RTX 5060 graphics card, and the DRAM bundles. It's been the case since forever. The AIC will then produce a PCB that aligns with Nvidia's guidance spec and perform the final retrofitting, inspection, validation, and packaging before sending it to the warehouse, where it will be shipped to retail distributors in bulk. I mean, yeah, it happens a lot. If you take a look at my GPU, that's also been the case. It's so big, it's so unwieldy. My box, it's barely big enough to fit in, and the box is pretty big. Oh, it's so big. I mean, it's bigger than the other one I had. That's pretty heavy. There's this story. We can confirm with our industry sources that it was fortunately false, and there have been no major changes in how Nvidia manages the RAM supply with its partners, AICs. They still receive the formation GPU plus the RAM combo, which is good. Now GPUs are being EOL, that's end of life, I guess, and no 16GB or higher VRAM models are being axed. Thankfully. You want to go back to 4GB? Oh, no. No thanks. Now, coming to the main question, and something that was reported recently. But first of all, let me make this clear. All journalists and tech outlets do their best in sourcing their information, and present it in the best way possible to the readers. Every one of us is responsible for presenting facts as they are, and not a matter of distrust or controversy. That's why everything you hear on the web from reputable outlets has its right, but oftentimes, it's not the outlet itself, but the source or means by which the information was gathered, because of the discrepancy. We've seen that some people just make shit up, we've seen some people just use AI, okay? I'm not saying these guys did, but some people do. I think about Asus's recent comment on the RTX 5070 Ti being EOL'd. It was covered by Hardware Unboxed, A highly reputable outlet I have great respect for their work and how they present their data. Surely if someone dares to tell me that a particular GPU is being EOL'd, I take the word, because they are one of, if not the, biggest NVIDIA AAC partners out there. The reported foundation was right, but it looks like Jasper was wrong about one thing. The RTX 5070 Ti is not EOL. Whoops, somebody was mistaken. Oh, I do wish somebody was fired for that one. I mean, I don't really care. Misinformation or being mistaken just happens all the time with these things. There have been reports in the past too, but the 5090 being EOL, the 5080 being EOL. It's almost like the past few months, all RTX 50 cards having declared EOL by someone, which doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure it's the latest series. Why would they do this? And this time it was answers. The thing is, no card is being EOL'd. No card, by the way. Important distinction. And still up there, retail, sometimes out of stock, which is gonna happen. Sometimes back in stock at exorbitant prices, which is also gonna happen. And sometimes below MSRP. Then these days, you'll be lucky to find one within $100 of the MSRP. True and real. And pretty expensive too. RTX 50 VRAM mounts continue to be in production. We're speaking with our industry sources and respective AICs. We confirm that NVIDIA is not ending shipments of any of the said GPUs to them, and that they continue to supply all RTX 50 GPUs. All of these GPUs are still in production, and none is being prioritized over another. Nor is any VRAM config favored over another. All 8, 12, 16, and 32 GB models in the existing RTX 50 series remain in stock. I mean, the stock is going to vary, but that's normal when you sell stuff anyway. I don't think that's a huge deal. The source even warned to quote NVIDIA directly, saying, "They support every market segment. We cannot ignore the fact that will be a certain level of supply drop to ASAs based on memory supply, as we reported earlier, but all things our source points to the fact that NVIDIA won't outright EOL any of their cards, nor have they done so for any RTX 50 GPU at the moment." Don't really know why this is surprising to people. Once again, do you guys remember 2020? It's kinda the same. Production was kinda scuffed, and supply was also kinda scuffed. But that doesn't mean they're just ending production. They have some hurdles, which is normal when you have a new big market, that being AI. It's not that surprising. I'd say this is actually normal looking, and even though we'll probably see stock problems and price hikes, it might not be as bad as we were meant to believe. Which is obviously something good. Certain guns will be more popular than others, and certain guns have always been produced in higher quantities than others, obviously. For example, the 5090 being the flagship will have the same supply output as the 5050, 5060 or 70. Nor will the 70 Ti, a very popular option, have the same production level as the 60 series. So going out of stock when supply constraints are affecting literally everyone is to be expected. If they aren't showing up on a specific retailer, it's not because they're EOL, it's simply they're running out of stock. Is this... hold up, is this a strat? Is this just fear-mongering to try and sell more stuff in the second-hand market? I'm not sure. I wouldn't say so, but it wouldn't surprise me. Because this happening even through the launch period, when certain supply is allocated for the first few weeks, and retailers have to put up out of stock once the supply dries up. That doesn't mean the GPU makers are EOLing their cards just a few days after launch. The same has happened to the Founders Edition models, which have always been limited edition. As soon as these models are out of stock, the first thing you'll see pop up is that NVIDIA has EOL'd the entire series. Maybe just click farming, which is perhaps a little bit too prevalent. And just as we were about to publish our report, as is issued, another statement confirming what our source just said, that the representative passed on incorrect information and that none of the RTX 50 cards they mentioned during the CES 3 show the media have been EOL'd. The full statement is as follows. It's fine. We believe them. We believe them. Similar rumors also surfaced a few months back claiming that RTX 5090 had been EOL'd. However, the CES, MSI, Asus and Gigabyte unveiled new in-production and retail video designs. If the card was really EOL, then why will manufacturers still produce more custom designs for it? Because it was not EOL'd. I think that happens a lot recently. I do have an MSI, it's so fucking big. And it's a 30 series. So that gives you an idea that most of the information being shared on the rumor mill, or by companies themselves as big as Asus, isn't based on hard facts of what's really going on in the industry right now. That's why we had multiple pointers and sources within this post that reflect the actual situation and what consumers should expect. Harvard Box has provided its own timeline on the matter. I mean, yeah, sure, it's fine, I believe you. With that said, that's about what we were able to get out for now, and hopefully this report answers a few questions about the current state of Nvidia's RTX 50 GPUs and its gaming lineup in general, while also addressing some rumors on the web. Wow, that's kinda rough. 5090 32GB. MSRP $2,000. Lowest price 3700. Highest price 10,000. That's a huge swing, holy shit. Yeah, some of these have a really steep uptick in price. Some of those are pretty okay, right? 5060 Ti from 429 to 529, it's probably fine. 900 is almost double. It's more than double even, that's a lot. It is rough. It is pretty rough. Now we'll see stock problems, which has been common for the past half a decade. We'll see price hikes, which has not been common in the past half a decade. It's not gonna be as bad as we thought, but I'm not trying to say it's gonna be perfect or anything like that. It probably won't. But I guess that's fine. Barely okay, I suppose. There are other things with AI that I find quite questionable. Shit, my chair keeps collapsing on me. Like this thing from Yale Climate Connections. I bet they have an agenda to push, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Home electricity bills are skyrocketing for data centers. Not so much. I mean, they have specific plans for data centers. That's fine, but at the same time, we'll see what's going on here. Data centers are consuming more kilowatts than ever. But the price they pay for that electricity has risen only a little. For normal people, electricity bills are going really up. It's rising a lot. Not just in the US. Electricity prices in the US are rising sharply, but the burden of rising bills isn't evenly distributed, as usual. Air Climate Connections analysis of electricity prices has found that data centers and other commercial electricity users are consuming more kilowatts than ever, but the price they pay for the electricity has risen only a little. Okay. I'm not saying this is wrong, but the first takeaway is that this is your wrong analysis. So of course you're gonna showcase it. Is it actually true? Did they make any mistakes? We have no idea. Industrial users of electricity are actually paying lower prices, on average, than they were 2 years ago. But between 2020 and 2024, residential electricity prices in the US increased by 25%. In other words, people using their toasters, laptops, and electric heating and cooking at home are paying ever-increasing prices, with data centers that are driving rapid growth in electricity demand are scoring handsome discounts. That's a little bit strange. I mean, from 2020 to 2022, with the goof and all that, People were paying more because you had compounding factors. More people at home, more people using electricity at home, but at the same time, not that many people still working, so less energy was being produced, unless a lot of things were being produced. So that makes sense. If it's still happening, that's a problem. A word of warning. This analysis may make you mad, but hopefully in a productive way. Well, we're always mad, so I guess that's okay. Since 2008, residential bills have been rising more than in other sectors. Electricity customers are sorted into use types: residential for homes, commercial for businesses and data centers, and industrial for facilities like factories or refineries. The graph below shows how the prices paid by these three sectors have shifted over time. Okay, I need to ask, because it may be relevant. Are these... oh, fuck, excuse me. Are these commercial and industrial facilities producing their own power, perhaps? Because that could be the case with, I don't know, solar panels, for example. They would be paying less for the additional electricity they need because they wouldn't be buying as much. But I'm not so sure. Let's see. Amount of price change since 1997 in cents per kilowatt hour. Ah, that seems to be the solution. The analysis is an image by Karen Kirk, which is the author of this article. Funny, self-referential. Yeah, it used to be the residential was the lowest, and now it's the highest by far. So we have industrial paying about 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour, commercial paying a little bit over 5, residential paying 8. It's a huge increase. From 1997 throughout 2007, electricity prices for all three categories of users rose and fell at a similar pace. But you can see already, in 2007, the residential went from being the lowest, or usually one of the lowest, to being the highest. In 2008, that trend stopped. That year, electricity prices went up for residences, but down for businesses and industries. Yes, here's the cutout. That's really weird. Over the next decade, coming uses of electricity became more expensive, while electricity prices for businesses stayed nearly flat. In 2021, the trend shifted again. Electricity prices for all three sectors began to rise stably but unequally. The gap between home energy use and business/industrial energy use became even larger. In the last 2 years, these differences became especially stark, as shown in the chart below. Wow, yeah, that's kind of rough. Residential 10% increase, commercial 3% decrease, industrial 2% decrease. Huh. I understand trying to push for more industry, so you want to get them a good deal, but it's actually having a bad repercussion in the usual people that's being used in the normal person, the normal civilian, because you're getting huge increases. And just a year starting in 2022, residential electricity prices rose by 10%, while commercial prices increased by only 3%, and industrial electricity prices fell by 2%. It's an example of the K-shaped economy, where things improve for some groups, while getting worse for others. Lines on a K-shaped graph head off in different directions, illustrating an ever larger gap between those benefiting and those left out. If only one sector is driving the growth in electricity usage, it would make sense for that sector to foot the bill for the power plants and power lines needed to serve their demand. So let's look at how electricity use is growing in each sector. Electricity use. Okay. The chart below shows how the amount of electricity used by each sector has changed since 1997. Industrial use has stayed relatively flat, while commercial and residential use both grew at fairly similar rates and are now consuming about 40% more power than they were in 1997. Okay, so what you're saying here is that these increases are normal and somewhat fair. I mean, essentially commercial should be closer because they're actually closer, but I guess it would be a matter of uh, how much commercial data centers do you have compared to residential. But new pattern emerged in the last 3 years. As seen in the chart below, commercial demand for electricity rose sharply and steadily, using 9% more power over just a 3-year span. Glenn McGrath, electricity data analyst at the US Energy Information Administration, wrote in an email that the growing energy needs of data centers are likely a significant factor behind increasing electricity use in the commercial sector. I mean, yeah, that's a huge increase. It's also kind of funny. You see, since 2021, the lowest increase in residential for the lowest increase in demand, but the highest increase in price. That's a bit strange. That's a tad weird. So the situation in recent years, household electricity use has shown the least of the 3 sectors. That's where prices have gone up the most. Data illustrators of residential users are subsidizing the energy bills of AI and data centers, a perspective backed up by other recent analysis. A report by the Harvard Law School Environmental and Energy Law Program, splitting profit from the public, lays out some of the reasons why big tech is able to offload its costs onto the public and outlines specific steps policymakers can take to restore balance. I didn't really care, they're bought. They bought and they work alongside this AI stuff. Not all of them, but a bunch of them do, especially in the US. A big part of the problem is that the 3 sectors of electricity users are far from equal when it comes to their leverage. The report explains that companies that use large amounts of electricity can often negotiate lower pricing with energy suppliers. In some cases, these contracts are secret. Companies' rules and rate structures make it hard for the public, as well as regulators, to follow or engage with the process. Furthermore, policymakers have an incentive to attract new economic development into their state as technology companies shop around for the best pricing. So of course, you want to sell them the best deals. So that's why it's a little bit not the best for the common folk. For oh my goodness, hold up, hang on a minute. I will clear my throat for real this time. Let's see if it works now. That was rough. For individual consumers, the situation is the opposite. In many states, people have no choice in their energy provider or their energy prices, and they can look elsewhere for a better deal. From what I've seen in the US, you don't get a lot of choice anyway, as far as energy providers goes. In the parlance of the energy industry, everyday people are often called captive ratepayers because we have little choice but to be the ever-faithful customers of a monopoly utility. I thought monopolies were bad. What's going on here? Rising electricity bills can trigger a host of negative consequences. High energy costs may prevent people from adequately heating or cooling their homes, which can contribute to both physical and mental health problems. Hey, yes, to Germany? It very well could be. Expensive energy can also lead people to forego necessities in other areas of their lives in order to keep up with rising bills, and avoiding having their service shut off. These burdens fall disproportionately on low-income, Black, Hispanic, and disadvantaged households, who spend a large portion of their income on energy bills. You can't just say people that earn less, okay? Diversity is my strength. Diversity is my city. High electricity prices could also slow the adoption of modern climate-friendly technology, such as electric vehicles, heat pumps, and induction stoves that rely on electricity. That said, electric cars and appliances are more efficient than their fossil fuel counterparts, so the trade-off is often still worth it. Okay, this is just the usual propaganda. I'm just saying how they actually make these electricity. Spoiler alert, it's still fossil fuels. Now a lot of people know about it, but it's mainly fossil fuels still. So it's just a full surround. I'm sorry to tell you this. But they had to know. Also, I'm not quite sure about electric cars being more efficient. They're more expensive, and they have more filling conditions from what I'm saying. In some cases, expensive electricity can spur faster adoption of climate solutions. Some solar panels pay for themselves more quickly, and energy conservation measures make even more financial sense than before. Yeah, but that can be expensive. You may have some taxes on top in some places. It's really strange. The electricity system in the US is undergoing multiple stresses at once. Data centers seem to have an unquenchable thirst for energy. As extreme weather, estimated once by our warming climate. Come on, man. Come on. Destabilizing the grid and causes spikes in electricity demand. At the same time, electricity generation is slowly transitioning from large, centralized power plants to numerous distributed forms of electricity generation. At the root of it all, the data suggests that everyday people are footing the bill while companies that consume even more power are paying less. At a time where corporations seem to enjoy many structural advantages over consumers, from lower tax rates to relaxed pollution requirements, reporting of rising energy bills can make one feel powerless. And yes, the bank was intentional. You're not funny. Ratepayers to have a choice. Just go Amish, I guess. Decisions about electricity rates are made by public utility commissions, which don't usually get much attention, but that may be changing. In November 2025 elections in Georgia, the incumbent public utility commissioners were resoundingly defeated after residential electricity prices climbed by 41% in just 4 years. That's crazy, dude. That's a huge increase. Commissions are increasingly criticized for rubber-stamping price hikes and not protecting ratepayers who are caught inside a monopolistic system. If you're interested in learning, I'm more interested in learning more about the electricity decision-making process near you. Yada yada yada. It's not gonna be near me anyway. But thanks for the information. And I know they're building a bunch of power plants in different places in the US. Is that gonna be good? Is that gonna be enough? Is it gonna lower prices? I have no idea. Because this creation of stuff has been it's a consequence of data centers and AI. So I'm I'm not so sure. We'll see. We'll see about that. Not funny. Not funny. What do we have here? Well, we can have some good news. Sometimes. It's a treat. What about Star Wars? Star Wars bought the parts of the leading franchise reboot. It finally happened. The evil is defeated. Does this mean that Star Wars is gonna get better? I don't think so. But now, there might be an attempt. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy stepping down after 14 years at the helm of the studio that makes Star Wars, one of the highest grossing Hollywood franchises in history. And have you seen the latest movies? Yeah, not good. Kennedy, who was picked by Star Wars creator George Lucas to lead the company, will become a full-time producer, the studio said on Thursday. Best known for steering the reboot of the science fiction series. Infamous for that, I will say. Kennedy ever saw hits like The Force Awakens, but she was also behind the franchise's first ever box office flop, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Dave Filoni, who has worked on many of the studio's animated shows, will take the role of President and Chief Creative Officer, working alongside co-president Lin-Wen Brennan. Lin-Wen, what a name. Brennan credited Kennedy for overseeing the greatest expansion in Star Wars storytelling. I mean, it was big, it was not good, it was not successful, but it was big, I guess. Kennedy has led Lucasfilm since 2012, with entertainment giant Disney, but the studio, home to the Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises. She oversaw the relaunch of the Star Wars franchise with 5 feature films, which together have earned more than 5 billion USD worldwide. They include the sequel trilogy movies starring Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver, broke box office records in the US. For the first one, I believe it. For the other two, I'm not so sure, especially the last one. I don't know a lot of people that actually watched that one. Was like, okay, why would you watch this? The previous one was just unthinkable slop, unthinkable trash. Why would you spend money to see the continuation? I didn't. That's why. During Kennedy's time in charge of Lucasfilm, introduced shows like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and the critically acclaimed and series for the Disney Plus streaming platform. Are these shows actually good? I'm not so sure. The Mandalorian had its fair share of controversies, and I'm not sure about Andor. Also, where is the power of many here? Wasn't that also a show here? Yeah, it's better not to mention it. Kennedy also introduced more female leads and characters from diverse backgrounds, but the approach was criticized by some fans for what he says a social agenda being brought into the Star Wars franchise. Well, it's not that they saw it. Well, they saw it, but it was not difficult to see when Kathleen Kennedy herself was saying such, okay? Ah, the Force is female! Look, I'm saying women cannot enjoy Star Wars. I'm saying you're trying to appeal to a demographic that doesn't care about Star Wars. It's a full surround, that's not gonna work, you will never get the demographic, and you're ostracizing your current demographic. You're gonna eat shit and die, lo and behold. There was also backlash over Lucasfilm's decision to create new shows that did not follow decades of Star Wars history, from sources like novels and comics. Yes. Especially when they were pretty bad. Kennedy will continue the studio to produce its incoming blockbuster film, The Mandalorian Grogu, and Star Wars Starfighter, which will star Ryan Gosling. Ah, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. She's still in the studio. Not good. Being a true privilege to spend more than a decade working alongside the extraordinary talent at Lucasfilm, Kennedy said on Thursday. I'm excited to continue developing films and television with both long-time collaborators and fresh voices who represent the future of storytelling. Oh, so nothing is going to change. Whoops. That's kinda bad. Oh, imagine my shock. Well, that's why you need to read the articles, okay? She's not really departing. It's just a change of position in the company. And it's a lot of people cheering for this, and I guess it's better than not, but it's not finally the evil is defeated. No, I don't think a lot of stuff is gonna change. Need to blow my nose again, it's really stuffy today. Give me a second. Ah, Kathleen Kennedy. It's kinda funny when you watch really old movies, and the credits you see her name and you're like, oh, but this movie was really good, what happened? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Agenda brain, I guess. We should be finishing soon. So, what do we go to? Okay, how about these two things? That's probably good. That's probably good. Let's get into this tweet. It's like a bigger study about this. But I'm not gonna I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I think the tweet is more than enough. By John B. Holbein. Women report more hours of housework when interviewed by a woman rather than by a man. It's not observable for male respondents. Social norms play an important role in the reporting of housework hours. Housework? Not like this. Therefore, gender gap estimates based on face-to-face interviews should be interpreted with great caution. Interesting. Interesting. The abstract. This is from 2025. Received May 16th, 2024? Published February 6th, 2025. That's crazy. Gender differences in the amount of housework performed and the role of social norms in explaining these persistent gaps have received increasing attention from both policymakers and researchers in recent years. However, norms may not only affect the actual division of housework, but also potentially influence reporting behavior in surveys. We study how retrospective responses about time use in face-to-face interviews are influenced by the gender of the interviewer. Our findings show that women tend to report significantly more hours of housework when interviewed by a woman rather than by a man. Okay, yeah, pretty much the same. And there's a screenshot now here, which is really funny. From a Vox article, this is from like 2023. It's not in the 2023 or 2024. Vox.com. When I started asking women about their experiences as mothers, I was startled by the number who sheepishly admitted, and only after being pressed, they had pretty equitable arrangements with their partners, and even loved being moms, but were unlikely to say that any of that publicly. How curious, how strange. Right? Something I mentioned a lot. Not being honest with what you actually want and what you actually like. Yeah, it's really strange. You need to maintain the agenda for some reason, despite the agenda being contradictory with your experiences. Things could seem insensitive to those whose experiences are not as positive, or those in more frustrating relationships. What a stupid thing to say! If you like being a mother, and you're okay with that, why wouldn't you say it? Of course it's your opinion, what else are you gonna say? If some people think otherwise, well, that's their prerogative. How is this a big deal? I just don't get it. I'm also worried that betraying too much enthusiasm for child rearing could ossify essentialist tropes or detract from larger feminist goals. They're so close to getting it. They're so close to getting it. It is insane. A huge chunk of women's problems, especially as it relates to with men, is because they want to impress other women, not men. Every complaint about how hard it is to be a woman comes them then trying to impress to be around other women. That's probably the women's wolf, right? Trying to impress other women. I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong or anything like that, but you see many problems coming from something like that. See, this is because of the man, and you see like insanely high, how do you call this? Issues, and really insane makeup, and guys are like, yeah, nah, that's self-inflicted. That's you dealing with other women. We're guys, we don't care. We truly don't. You look barely okay, that's more than enough. Let us be real, that's more than enough. High heels, that's what I was trying to say. If you like it by yourself, that's fine. But do not try to press, this is because of the man. No. That's women on women competition, okay? Just be honest about it. And let us finish for today with a really strange article. It's the Telegraph, Schweizering Archive. Listen up, a straight white man. A woke meeting is here to tell you what you can and can't joke about. How about no? I bet this is gonna be funny. In a really unintended way. After denouncing PC comics like Ricky Gervais, Rosie Jones, Rosie has presented her advice on how to joke responsibly. Pay attention, bigots. It's gonna be hilarious. If you need to pick and choose what you joke about, because, you had to joke responsibly, you already make a mistake. You should be able to joke about whatever you want. That's why. Also, she looks like a really funny comedian. Rosie Jones, the impeccably progressive millennial comedian. Oh my goodness, this is awful. We're just a sentencing, barely a sentencing. And this is raising so many red flags, I think I'm in China. Who has appeared on everything from the news quiz to 8 out of 10 cats. Says she's sick of privileged cis white straight men making inappropriate jokes about the trans community. I think those are jokes. Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet. In an interview with the LGTB Plus magazine Attitude, she complains, "It's your Ricky Gervais and Jimmy Carr's." Who's Jimmy Carr's? No idea. That's why I'd say, with respect, shut the fuck up! How about no? How about no? See? You're getting a reaction from the joke. So are we sure it's a bad joke? It might be a bad joke. I'm not so sure. In this case, it's probably hilarious. But it's just politics. Of course, if you yourself happen to be a privileged, cis, white, straight man, you may be wondering whether these strictures also apply to you, and the jokes you tell. I rather fear that they do, but don't fret, because in the same interview, Ms. Jones graciously provides us with her expert advice on how to tell a joke responsibly. What a wonderful phrase! It sounds like the warning on a bottle of alcohol. Please, choke responsibly. Laugh in moderation. The chief medical officer recommends you do not exceed 14 smiles a week. Remember, humor can kill. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness! I think I'm suffering from this. I need to go to the doctor. Doctor, please help me. I'm too funny. Whoops. Somebody got too funny again. I love that clip. Anyway, on the essential guide, before you tell a joke, Miss Jones instructs us. You need to analyze it, and it comes down to 3 things. First, who are you? Do you have lived experience, or experience close to you? No, first of all, is it funny? If I understood correctly, this means you're not permitted to make jokes at the expenses of people who are different from you. Who said those were jokes? So, for example, Messrs. Gervais and Cars. Is that like Misters? I'm not quite sure. I don't think I've ever seen this before. If this is a joke, I don't get it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm not suffering from 14 smiles a week yet. Messrs. Gervais and Carr should not be making jokes about trans women, because they themselves don't have lived the experience of being trans women. But they're both male. Isn't that enough? Only express male. True enough. On the other hand, they do both have lived experience of being male, not per red, I promise. Just like all trans women. Does that not qualify them? And while we're at it, does the Bible rule mean that if you yourself are not a cis white straight man, you're not allowed to make fun of cis white straight men? Well, now that's not how intersectionality works. What's mine is mine. What was yours is also mine. That's what we call Jainism. It's not a strange philosophy. It's from Kyan, from Doraemon. A kid's show. It's also just being egotistical, I suppose, and extremely selfish in a really negative way. Indeed. Are you only permitted to mock, say, Donald Trump, if you yourself have lived experience of being president of the USA? How about this oppression against orange people? When will it stop? Disgusting. Not very woke of you, Miss Jones. Or does the rule not apply in these particular cases? Well, you see, it's all about oppression. The more oppressed you are, the more power you get. What a strange game. I suspect not. Judging by the second question, Miss Jones exhorts us to ask ourselves, what is your intention? Is it positive or negative? Are you punching up or punching down? I don't care, I'm just punching everywhere. Always be punching. Always be punching. It works. You're gonna hit somebody. Isn't that the point? Even if the accuracy is iffy, you will hit them eventually. And they're confused. Dynamic punch! For anyone unfamiliar with this bit of progressive comedy jargon, punching up is good. Because it means making fun of people who are more privileged than you, while punching down is bad. Because it means making fun of people who are less privileged than you. Admittedly, you may be thinking, hang on, what about all those well-off middle-class left-wing comedians who have spent the past decade making fun of working-class Brexit voters and redneck Trump supporters? But I spent this just in all of those special scenarios in which the rules don't apply. Ah, rules for thee but not for me. It also works. But you have to understand, it's not that complex here. They can do it because they have self-identified themselves as the good guys. And since they're the good guys, and the ends justify the means, they can do whatever they want. Because everything they do is justified. Because they are the good guys. It's just that easy. God damn it. So easy being a hero nowadays. At any rate, let's not dwell on that, because we now come to the final question Miss Jones wishes us to consider. Which is, why are you telling the joke? Why are you telling the joke? Are you asking a question to open up a conversation and make people think differently? Or are you saying it simply to be controversial? I'm telling the joke because it makes me laugh. It's that easy. Oh, who does your sense of humor appeal to? Myself! I think I'm hilarious. Every single time I'm editing some of my shit, I'm like, holy shit, dude, why am I so funny? Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, but I don't care. If I'm not going to consider myself funny, that's the fucking point. Perhaps my memory deceives me, but I will swear there was a time when comedians had another motivation for telling jokes. That is, they wanted to make people laugh. As strange as it may now seem, they thought of opening up a conversation and making people think differently and appear not to occur to them. Well, yes, because this is an extreme ideologue, and for an extreme ideologue, everything has to be about pushing the agenda, not about the jokes. So it's not comedy. They're masquerading the agenda as comedy. Of course you're not laughing. That's why you know it's bad. For example, when Bob Monkhouse joked, I want to die like my father, peaceful in his sleep, not screaming and terrified like his passengers, classic joke. Was he trying to open up a conversation about sudden arrhythmic death syndrome? Or about the present need for both the driving licenses of elderly motorists for the safety of other road users? I mean, that's not a bad conversation to have. Some people have points there. I mean, they're not all that... not all of their senses are... How to say this? They're not young, okay? They're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna have side problems. They're gonna be... as... They don't have that deafness, I suppose. So it makes sense. But if they are skilled enough, there wouldn't be any problem. I know that's not the point. But still. If you're not... These days, this approach to comedy is not considered hideously outdated. Still, I can think of one Monkhouse line that most progressive stand-ups could use. People laugh when they say they want to be a comedian. Well, they're not laughing now. So all of those lines come from this Monkhouse individual? I didn't know that. That's hilarious. I've seen some of these many times before. I think I've used some of these even. Hilarious. Nobody's laughing now. Answering to the public. Is this still the same? Hold up. I don't think so, but who knows? Sure. Answering to the public. After a diplomatic spat over Taiwan, Japan is having to return all the pandas lent to it by China. So to avoid disappointing visitors, one Japanese zoo has had an inspired brainwave. Instructed skippers in panda outfits, popped them in enclosure, and invited visitors to feed them instead. Nah, I don't think this is about the jokes anymore. I mean, this is the archive, so it may be a little bit scuffed. What the visitors make of this, I don't know, but the news should at least please Peter. Peter! The Howling Animals Rights Group, which has claimed that drinking cow's milk is a symbol of white supremacy. Look, if enjoying dairy is a symbol of white supremacy, you can call me Hitler. Holy shit, I love cheese! And I love yogurt. Urge women to go on second strike against men who eat meat. Well, it makes sense. These women will not get the sausage. But it has long denounced zoos as inhuman establishments that profit from exploiting animals. So if zoos are replaced pandas with humans, this should represent a step forward. Personally, I think the perfect solution would be to free all zoo animals and replace them with better activists. Visitors could feed them by poking chunks of corn through the bars of their cage. Hey, that sounds like a good solution. I was sure this is a joke. This makes sense to me. Ah, man. This shit keeps happening. Ah, you're gonna joke about this. You're gonna joke about that. Oh, it is, what about the respect for these people? I just don't care, okay? I just don't care. It's so offensive. Good. Grow a thicker skin. That's the whole point, okay? If you feel offended, that's on you, not on me. I just don't give a fuck. What can you say? Hate me if you must. I already won. I have already won. Yeah, that means a couple of stuff at the end of the day. And that's me being angry from hell for a couple of days on Twitter. Kinda fun if you ask me. Anyway, I guess we can finish almost on time. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done something like that, huh? That's okay. That's okay. I think my throat is giving out a little bit. That's why I don't want to push it too much. I don't know what happened today. It was really weird. So, plan for next week. I know I mentioned this the other day, but let me repeat. On Monday, more clear. I've noticed that the audio is a little bit cracked in the game. I will lower it for next time. What else? On Wednesday, which previously was something like, this will be some sort of one-off, I'm not sure what yet. I think we're gonna be trying Dread Mist, the new MMO, and that will probably spill into the week after. I'll have like a couple of days to run the MMO, to see how it works. I hope I don't get maintenance during a stream. Knowing my luck, it could happen. Where's my luck maxing? Not like this. And on Thursday, we'll be checking a bunch of strange Pokemon fighting games. It's not gonna be the usual, oh look, it's like Pokemon Red, but oh, Dark Fantasy! No. It's gonna use strange mechanics. Thus far I have Pocket Clicker and the new Tower Defense, but I want to expand my list a bunch, so I'm not just struggling for liking out with just a single game. So we might check Pokemon Crown a little bit, we might check Poke Emblem, we'll see whatever else I find. We might actually check some actual Pokemon games that I guess a lot of people don't know about too much anymore. I think that's gonna be fun, I think that's gonna be interesting. And of course on Saturday, more of this, more insane yapping about current events. So, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you for coming. I hope you had some fun. I'll come back on Monday to be French again. Until then, you know the rules. If you want to joke about something, well, just do as the Americans. Shoot first, ask questions later, and take care.